So just tell us when you were first diagnosed, what your diagnosis was, and then what therapy you had and how you've changed what you've been doing.
Okay. The doctor told me that I had invasive ductal carcinoma 1 year ago, March. He told me
the breast.
of the breast. Yeah, I had a lump on the breast. He said I needed surgery, and he said I needed a lumpectomy and to take nodes out of my armpit, and then to have chemotherapy and radiation because it was an invasive tumor. So, or aggressive, it was very aggressive. So he did the surgery and then took the nodes out. The nodes were free of cancer, thankfully, and the margins were clear from the tumor. Then I started right in for chemotherapy, and I've always been kind of health conscious, but really didn't know that much about health. So when they stuck the chemotherapy in my veins, something really went against what I believed in. Have a strong faith in the Lord, and I just didn't really believe that the Lord wanted me to do this, that it wasn't going to be good for my health.
What did you think that the chemotherapy would do to you?
Poison. I thought in my mind, it's poison going in my veins. And I just didn't believe that this was going to heal me from cancer.
How many chemotherapy treatments did you have?
I had 4 months of chemotherapy. During the first 3, I started reading a lot about my kind of cancer, and I didn't really believe that I needed chemotherapy, so I started reading all these books, about cancer, and I found out I really did. For what the Medical Association said, what I could investigate in, I needed chemotherapy according to them.
But you decided that there was a better way to get well?
I started reading. And lots of my friends gave me information about health and nutrition and all that, but especially my Bible bookstore lady friend gave me your videos. And she said, "Sue, don't do chemotherapy." And I go, "That's what I want to do, but what can I do about that?" And she goes, "No, I've got a better way. I've got Dr. Lorraine Day's videotapes." And she said, "Go home and watch these." And I did. I went home and watched them. And it was like just a relief to me to hear God's plan for healing. And that's what I really, really believed. I just understood right away. I could relate to you so much because you had the same disease as me, and you were dehydrated and da-da-da. You had done the same things to your body that I have done to my body, and that's why we both have cancer. And I really believe that my body was created to correct its own problems, that God wouldn't make mistakes like that, and I didn't believe in the medicine that I was taking.
So did you stop the chemotherapy, or what did you do?
Well, my family didn't understand what I was feeling, and so I didn't want to just go by my emotions and say I'm not going to do chemotherapy anymore, because all my friends were praying for me and helping me out during the chemotherapy, and my husband, of course, wanted me to do it. My children wanted me to, because they thought it would extend my life, but I didn't believe it was. So when I was feeling better after the first 3 months of chemotherapy, I had a break for radiation, and I had 7 weeks of radiation. And during that time, I was feeling good enough to read more. And
how did the chemotherapy and radiation make you feel if you had to recover from them? Did they make you sick?
Oh, very sick. Very, very sick to my stomach, very weak. I could feel my immune system was just going down. My white cell counts went down every time I went back in. They were getting lower and lower. I knew that my immune system was getting depleted.
So then when you stopped, what did you change? What did you do when you stopped?
I got your third video. I only had your first 2 from that lady at the Bible bookstore, but then I went somewhere, I can't remember where, but I got all 3 of the videos for myself to have in my library. And I watched the 3rd video with my husband and my mom. And when we all 3 watched that video, and I was praying, God, please just direct me, and he, I knew he was going before me. And at the end of that video, my My mom and my husband and I, all three of us, believed I needed to not do chemotherapy anymore. And so at that point, I went upstairs and I just started crying. I started crying, and all my emotions came out because I was so pent up with doing this terrible poison in my body. I hated that so much, and just the fact that I knew I could get off of that and go natural, eat the things God created for me in the Garden of Eden, was such a relief to me. All my emotions just came out, and I just praised God with my whole heart that I could do something like this and do the things that He created for me to do.
And how are you doing now? You're following God's health plan?
I am.
And how are you doing now?
Well, it took me a while to come up from the chemotherapy because that had taken me down to almost no immune system. My white cell counts were down to 1.3. I knew I had a long way to come up. I had already started the diet while I was on chemotherapy. My family didn't, have anything to say about that other than I was, eating healthy. But I knew in my heart I was following your plan already. So I had already started it. But when I got off the chemotherapy, I really went for it, more and more and more. And now I've been off chemotherapy for 8 months, and I feel wonderful. I feel just so wonderful. I still feel, I have felt a little mixed up because of all of the homeopathic things and just all these various things that people have been, showing
That make you confused.
That make me confused
Right.
Until I met you today and I've talked with you, and I know God planned this day for me to meet you because now things are totally clear for me and I know where to go.
Good.
And God's been going before me the whole way, and now He finished it.
Now let me ask you this. People will say that, well, you had the chemotherapy and the radiation, and if you're well, that's why you're well. What do you say to that?
Absolutely not. That's not why. The chemotherapy and the radiation made me sick. I was down, way down. Immune system was way down. And if I didn't eat like this, my immune system would be who knows where. But I want to continue in this diet so I can build my immune system enough that I can kill those cancer cells off when they come back.
Right.
Or they probably still are there. I'm sure chemotherapy and radiation did not cure my cancer, although the oncologist tells me that I'm cancer-free. I don't believe that. I believe I have a lot of work to do with my body still.
And of course, it's not just a diet, it's a total plan, and you follow all 10 steps, and then you'll be well.
I started doing the walking and being out in the sunshine, and I need to work on rest because I know that I need to sleep more and probably take more stress out of my life, too.
Thanks.
That's a goal.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Lorraine Day. God bless you.
Well, why don't you tell me your story, Sonia, when you were first diagnosed, and tell us kind of what Sue told us.
Okay, I was diagnosed with breast cancer at age 47. I'm 51 now. And it wasn't my first experience with cancer. My first experience was when I was 29 years old. I had a large basal cell tumor on the side of my nose, and the doctor didn't even believe it was basal cell because of my age. He laughed at me because I was concerned. Yet after 6 weeks he decided to send me for a biopsy, and it was quite devastating at that age, thinking, well, if I get this at 29, what's in store for me? And they had to do a large skin graft along my face and bring a flap up my nose. And at the time, that was the first time I'd ever really heard about the vegan lifestyle and the laws of health. And I applied them because I didn't want any more skin cancer, and I really believed that that had a large effect. So for 5 years, I lived this lifestyle, and I got no further skin cancers at all. And then I began being overconfident and thinking, well, I had one doctor say, well, it could have been just a one-time life experience and it probably won't happen again. And I believe that because sometimes we just want to believe what's easy and comfortable for us. So I resumed my previous diet, which was actually still vegetarian, but I ate large amounts of refined foods and sugars and dairy products and so on. And then I started getting skin cancers one after another, a couple 3-year large ones, another one on my nose, lots of them on my back and my shoulders. And I pushed to the back of my mind, well, I don't think it's diet related. I didn't really listen to myself until I was 47 and I had a breast tumor. And I went into the doctor. He didn't even believe it was a breast tumor, or a malignancy. He thought it was benign. And but when the lab report came back, I was shocked. He was shocked, and I went to see the oncologist. And the oncologist told me that I needed to have a lumpectomy and radiation and an axillary node dissection. And I had no idea what I needed to do, even though I didn't have total faith in the previous approach that I had taken because I hadn't heard enough about it. And I'm a nurse, work in surgery myself, and I thought I'm willing to do whatever it needs to be done, but I have no idea what's best. So I did the next best thing I could think of, and that was to just fall on my knees and give the whole situation to the Lord and say, I have no idea what to do, if it means radiation, chemotherapy, whatever, or if it's some other approach. Lord, you just show me. I'm completely yours. And it seemed at that point, all the information started happening to me. At one point you said, when you seek the truth, it'll come to you. And I could spend an hour discussing the miraculous ways of how these truths came to me. I'd never heard of you before, yet I had a contact, you had a contact, you had a contact, and I just started reading. And the interesting thing is, I wanted the tumor cut out right away. I felt very uncomfortable with it, and I prayed to the Lord that He would set up surgery for me really fast so I could get rid of it. But the doctor said he was booked for 3 solid weeks, and I was just completely beside myself and thought, how can I wait for 3 weeks? During that 3-week period, it was an educational period for me, and by the time the 3 weeks was up and I was ready for, well, I did go through with the lumpectomy, but I had gained so much information that I knew exactly what path I was going to take, and I felt completely confident. I had a lumpectomy, and I decided to refuse the radiation, much to the disdain of my doctor. He thought it was ridiculous, and he thought, if you want to go the health route, do both. But I knew they were contradictory from what I had learned, and I knew that wasn't the direction God was leading me. So I decided to just go the natural way. Then I didn't see the doctor. I didn't even have a follow-up visit with him. My tumor was 1.5 centimeters, and I didn't find out what type it was. I knew nothing. I didn't look at the report. I was so convicted that this was the way I needed to go, and there was nothing else that he could really offer me. First of all, I went on a cleanse program for a while where I completely changed my diet, and it wasn't until 2 years later that I looked at my report. I dug it up. It had come in the mail and I never even read it. And in my report it said that they had clear margins, 3.5 centimeters all the way around the top of the tumor, but the bottom of the tumor was near the chest wall and there was only 1 millimeter of clear margin. So I would think that I probably was at really high risk, and if I had have gone back, the doctor would have highly recommended, saying that my life would have been threatened if I hadn't have followed through with his recommendation, and it's been 4 years. Plus, I have really a huge reduction in skin tumors. I have one that the doctor suspected that I might have had, another one on my nose, and I decided not to have that excised, and it's just been dormant. And I do have a little bit of a skin condition on a shoulder now, but it was absolutely nothing like it has been in previous years where I'd get multiple skin tumors, so that's greatly reduced. And just the fact that I even have a slight amount of skin activity, I think is because my adherence to the program has probably been 90%, and that's why I continue going to meetings and studying and praying, and I'm convicted that it's something that I really need to stick with, because diet has always been a weakness on my part. I was always completely just completely undisciplined when it came to diet. If I felt like eating something, if I wanted an ice cream, if I wanted sodas, whatever I wanted, I'd have. And so I know that when I rely on the Lord's strength, that he gives it to me and I can stay away from it, but he's teaching me. He doesn't stop, once the diagnosis and the disease is under control. It's an ongoing process, and I feel that my growth continues in that direction.
Now, how did your peers at the hospital respond when you first started on God's health plan and refused the chemo and radiation?
Some people were verbal about it, and they came right out and told me they thought I was doing a very foolish thing. And some I saw hushed responses and whispered just communication where I felt that they were very uncomfortable with the fact that I was doing this. And the interesting thing now is to see the turnabout in attitude, and now that I'm healthy and well and rarely sick and exude health. In fact, that's usually the comments that I do get now. And they're starting to ask me about their own friends and families when they have cancer. In fact, I belong to a health club, a gym, and one of the trainers there has been telling me how ridiculous my diet is and how I'm not getting enough protein and I need meat and I need all these different things. And he's been saying this for a year or two, and I tell him, well, look at the animals. Look how well they do. They're stronger than we are, elephants and many animals that are on a vegetarian diet. And I walked into the gym just the other day, and this same trainer that's been talking to me now wants information because his father has prostate cancer, and he's completely open and wants to hear whatever he can. He says, I'd like to see books and tapes and things like that on how you regained your health.
So isn't it nice that you, a nurse, God has put right in that system, that medical system, where the other doctors and nurses are now having to take notice?
They are, and they're definitely taking notice. Results is what really speaks to them, and they're seeing the results. So I feel like it's a wonderful blessing.
Thank you, Lorraine.
The entire foundation of conventional medicine is based on the theory that flies cause garbage. That's right. Now, you know flies don't cause garbage, right? Garbage attracts flies. And yet, the entire foundation of conventional medicine is based on the theory that flies cause garbage. Conventional medicine is based on the theory that diseases are transmitted by specific germs and microorganisms. You see, we think that the germs, microorganisms, the germs, bacteria and viruses, actually cause disease and must be controlled so the disease can be cured. Isn't that what everybody thinks? That's called the germ theory. And this belief is so widespread that medical minds are closed to the possibility that there could be truth any other place. The truth is that illness is almost always caused because of a breakdown in the tissues of the body first, and then the germs come second. Those of you who are gardeners, you know that if you have healthy soil, you will have a healthier plant, and then that plant will resist disease. Isn't that right? Well, it's the same way with people. If you have a healthier person, that healthy person will resist disease. And if you eat the healthy plants that are grown by the gardener using healthy soil, it will make you healthier and more resistant to germs. Now, we've got it all backwards in conventional medicine. The germ theory we all think of as being proposed by Louis Pasteur, of which pasteurization of milk is named after. Louis Pasteur came up with this information in about the 1870s. And everybody said, oh, this is great. And in fact, all of Orthodox medicine is based on that, except that Louis Pasteur stole the idea He stole it from a good Italian, Geronimo Frascatorio, who came up with the idea a couple hundred years earlier. But Louis Pasteur read it and claimed it as his. The only problem is Florence Nightingale, who we just think of as a nurse running around in a cap doing nice things for patients, was actually a very intelligent woman and a good researcher and a good observer. And 17 years before Louis Pasteur stole the germ theory from Frascatorio, Florence Nightingale had already debunked it. She said it's not true. Let me tell you what she said. She said, I was brought up to believe that smallpox, for instance, was a thing which there was once a first specimen in the world, which went on propagating itself in a perpetual chain of descent, just as there was a first dog or a first pair of dogs, and that smallpox could not begin itself any more than a new dog could begin without there having been a parent dog. Since then, she says, I have seen with my own eyes and smelled with my own nose smallpox growing up in first specimens either in closed rooms or in overcrowded wards. In other words, it just appears. It could not possibly have been caught, but had to have just begun. I have seen diseases begin and grow up and pass into other diseases. Now, dogs do not pass into cats. I have seen, for instance, with a little overcrowding, continued fever grow up, and with a little more overcrowding, typhoid fever, and with a little more typhus, all in the same ward or hut. Would it not be far better and more practical if we look upon all disease in this light? The specific doctrine of the germ theory is a grand refuge of weak, uncultured, unstable minds, such as now rule in the medical profession. And she said this back in the 1870s. Nothing has changed. She says there are no specific diseases, but there are specific disease conditions which lead to diseases. Remember, I told you yesterday that you could have the most expensive car, you could have a Rolls Royce or whatever car may be even more expensive, and you could have it filled with very rich passengers, and you could have a convoy of 500 of the fanciest cars you've ever known with all the richest people on the face of the earth, and going as fast as they can. But if they're going down the wrong road, they're not going to get to the right place. We have had a war on cancer since 1971. We have thrown billions upon billions upon billions of dollars at it. And early in this century, the incidence of cancer was 1 out of 33, and now it's 1 out of 2. We're going down the wrong road. Do you agree? Yeah. So it doesn't matter how many people believe it. You've got to believe the statistics. We are losing the war on cancer because we're doing it in the wrong way. We're going about the research in the wrong way. The cure for cancer is known. But as I told you yesterday, there's a lot of money to be made in disease. In cancer, in high blood pressure, in heart disease, in autoimmune diseases, in every disease, there's a lot of money to be made. Now, when Louis Pasteur was in his heyday, he had a colleague named Beauchamp. This was in France. Louis Pasteur said, the milieu, or the body environment, is nothing, and the microorganism, the bacteria or the virus, is everything. In other words, germs cause disease. Beauchamp said, no, you're wrong. He said that the milieu, or the body environment, is everything, and the microorganism, the disease, or the germ, the bacteria, the virus, is nothing. It all depends on how your immune system is doing as to whether you get disease. Just think about it. We are covered with germs all the time. There are millions of them on your skin. There are millions, maybe trillions in the air. There are germs on everything you touch. There are organisms in your nose and in your mouth and in your digestive tract to help you digest your food and metabolize it. Why is it that only a few of those trillions of germs actually cause disease? Well, the reason is they don't cause disease. They are there because you have diseased tissue, and they are there to help you by cleaning up the dead and diseased tissue. Now just think about this. I told you, and you agree, that flies don't cause garbage. But if you have a lot of garbage collecting in your kitchen, what are you going to have? You're going to have flies and insects and vermin and all sorts of things, right? And what are they going to do? They're going to clean it up. That's what they're there for. If you see a dead animal in the road and it's covered with insects and it's got vultures flying around and pecking at it, did the vultures attract the dead animal? Of course not. It is the dead tissue that attracts the cleanup crew. Well, now do you say, well, let's see, if we get rid of the vultures, we'll have no more dead animals. But that's what medicine says. If we just get rid of these bacteria, these germs and viruses, bacteria, we won't have any more disease. No. We're going the wrong direction pell-mell, and they're using your tax money to go pell-mell down the wrong road. Do you get it? Do you understand that these germs are not the cause of the problem? People get ulcers, and they say, oh, now we found this Helicobacter pylori. That's the cause of ulcers because we see it in the field where the ulcer is. Well, that's not the cause of ulcer. Ulcers are caused mainly by dehydration and stress. And I'm going to tell you about that today. And that's on my video, Diseases Don't Just Happen. It tells you the cause of ulcers. In fact, 2,000 cases of ulcers have been cured by water drinking alone. It's published in Dr. Batman Gellige's book, Your Body's Many Cries for Water. That was absolutely critical for my recovery to understand about water. Here's another thing that's important that Beauchamp was talking about. He said that disease does not start from the outside, but it starts from within. And that if we have healthy bodies with good functioning immune systems, we would not succumb to disease. The bacteria found in man and animals do not cause disease. They have the same function as those found in the soil or sewage elsewhere in nature. They are there to rebuild dead or diseased tissues or to rework body waste. And it is well known that they will not or cannot attack healthy tissue. All you have to do is keep your body in good working order, and then these organisms cannot feed off of you. An English physician, Dr. Alexander Haig, has said that the breakdown of human cell tissues is due primarily to uric acid formed by the breakdown of protein that all animal flesh contains. Now, the animal flesh contains this uric acid in high quantities, and these are not contained in high quantities in plant food. So when you have this breaking down your tissues, then you are fair game for the bacteria and viruses. Another study called the Pottinger cat study showed that when cats were given raw food to eat, that they had healthy litters with good glossy coats. They had litters with no problems with congenital deformities, and they could continue to procreate for generation after generation. But when he gave the cats cooked food, within 2 generations they started having deformed offspring and scraggy coats, and within 3 to 4 generations the whole strain died out. They could no longer reproduce. The only difference was cooked food versus raw food. Because raw food is alive. You take a potato that you buy at the grocery store, and you plant it in the ground, it'll grow. You put it in water, it'll sprout. You take that potato and you bake it, and then plant it in the ground. It's garbage. We want to eat live foods. Foods the way God created them, because they have all their enzymes and vitamins and minerals in their most natural form. Anytime you cook anything, even if you steam it, you destroy the enzymes. It's estimated that when you eat all cooked food, your body has to produce the enzymes that are missing in the cooked food, even though God has provided them all in the raw food. But you cook them and destroy them, and then your body has to make the enzymes to digest that food. It takes the same amount of energy to make the enzymes for 3 meals a day of cooked food as it does to do 8 hours of hard labor. Is it any wonder people are suffering from fatigue? The medical textbooks say that virtually 80% of all diseases have no known causes. The fancy word for cause in the medical books is etiology. That means what causes it. And it says etiology unknown over and over and over and over again. That's what it says about cancer. That's what it says about autoimmune diseases. That's what it says about neurological diseases. But in fact, that's not true. The cure for virtually all, the cause for virtually all diseases, and the cure is known. There's very few diseases that even in the medical literature, if you search it, there's not a known cure for. It's just that the frame of mind is such in the medical profession that they do not believe that the way you eat and the way you live has anything, or certainly not much, to do with whether you are well or whether you are sick. Now I want to show you again, and we're going to turn down the lights a little bit. For those of you who were not here yesterday, I want to give you my credentials again. I am an MD, an orthopedic trauma surgeon. I was chief of orthopedic surgery at San Francisco General Hospital for many years, and I was on the faculty of the University of California, San Francisco as associate professor and vice chairman of the Department of Orthopedic Surgery for 15 years. I have never been on the fringes of medicine. I have been in the mainstream of medicine for all of my career. But then I developed cancer, and when I did, my life changed. My tumor was very small at first. I developed breast cancer, but it was high up on my chest, right up here. I didn't think it was cancer at first, nor did the doctor at Loma Linda who first removed it. But when he removed this small lump, this is when it recurred, but the lump at first was half the size of an almond. And the reason I had it removed was that it was irritating my chest and the lump when I would put my seatbelt on when I drove in the car. So I had it removed, not thinking it was cancer. And they not only found out it was cancer, but it had already spread throughout the muscles of my chest wall. The doctor said I would have to have chemotherapy and or radiation plus a mastectomy, or I would die. Well, I changed my diet. At that time, that's all I understood was changing the diet. I didn't know the rest of the plan. And so I changed my diet, but I kept working. Now, at that time, I was not operating night and day as I was as a trauma surgeon, but I was still working routinely through the day, and I had a lot of stress in my life. Then the tumor returned a few months later, probably about 7-8 months later. And as you can see, it was small. It was about the size of a marble. And this is the scar right up here from the first removal. I was very concerned, of course, because the plan that I had chosen was obviously not working. I was a strict vegan, and that is absolutely essential for recovering from cancer or any other serious disease, or if you just want to stay healthy. But it's not enough in and of itself. As I was madly trying all these different methods, suddenly, over a 3-week period, the tumor grew to this size. And it was terribly painful. And here is a side view. That is tumor. That is not breast, that is tumor. And here is another picture. Here I am. This is my neck. This is my shoulder here. And this is the tumor. It was all the way down into my chest wall area here. By this time, the tumor had spread into the nodes under my arm and the nodes above my clavicle. I was still able to stand at this period of time, but it was shortly after that I became bedridden, and I was bedridden for 6 months. I also had developed the pill-rolling tremor of Parkinson's, like this. I had developed symptoms in my left side of multiple sclerosis. I had numbness, and I had the inability to totally control my left leg. I had feelings that someone was constantly grabbing my left arm. I had Raynaud's phenomena, which is numbness and coldness of my fingertips as well as the tips of my toes. And I developed severe, overwhelming anxiety and depression, not because of the cancer. This would come on seemingly unrelated to it, where I felt like my heart was going to jump out of my chest, and I was a nervous wreck. Now here I had run a huge department. I had been solid as a rock. But I was reduced to such a state that when the phone would ring, it would scare me so bad, I would break into tears and I would fall on the floor. Now that's a real mess. There's no one here today that's that bad. I was bad, and I had this gigantic tumor. I was consigned to death by the doctors. I was told that I would die, and I would probably die even if I had chemo and radiation, but certainly if I didn't, and I didn't have a mastectomy, I would die. I refused it all. I refused chemo, I refused radiation. Now people will say, well, that must have been easy for you, you're a doctor. No, it's a lot harder for a doctor than anybody else, because you get tremendous peer pressure. All of my colleagues thought I was crazy. They said, you're going to die, and this is quackery. But I had seen too many thousands of patients die from the treatment that we give them. So I said, absolutely not, I'm not going to do it. But again, my tumor was growing, and I was trying all these different alternatives. I tried 35 to 40 different alternative therapies over a period of several years, and all of them failed. I tried the macrobiotic diet, I tried the beans and greens, I tried the Rife Generator 714X, the Coke formula, lots of supplements. When I took lots of supplements, my tumor grew. Okay? They aren't natural. They're not in the same concentrations God makes them in food. We cannot improve on God. As I got on the plan that's on my video, You Can't Improve on God, went back to the Bible, went back to the writings of Ellen G. White, who wrote about this 100 years ago, to God's totally simple plan, I was able to stop the growth of the tumor. And it actually started shrinking. But it was very painful, and at that point, I did not have the total plan together. I didn't understand totally about stress, and I didn't understand the importance of water. I was doing the right diet by that time, but I didn't understand all the other parts of the plan. The pain was excruciating. I hadn't been able to sleep more than a couple of hours for over a year. When I was still standing, I would be pacing around, crying out because of the pain. I became bedridden. I was bedridden, as I say, for 6 months. My husband would carry me outside to put me in the sunlight. He was taking complete care of me at that time, and I could see no way that I could live except that I was doing everything I knew how to do. And God promises in Psalms 103:3 that he heals all our diseases, and in Deuteronomy 7:11-15 he says, if you obey my laws, my commands, and my decrees, I will keep you free from every disease, and I hung on to that. From the time that I was so sick, not expected to live through the night, until I was totally well, was 18 months. Now, let me tell you what I did. This tumor was so painful. I found, after great searching, a surgeon who would do palliative surgery on me and what we call in surgery debulk that tumor, take out a portion of it to reduce my pain. I found a surgeon who would do that without giving me chemotherapy and radiation. But all the rest of the cancer that was all throughout my chest wall was left in, and all the cancer that was in the nodes under my arm and above my clavicle, some of the nodes under my arm were as big as a walnut. They're all left in. Didn't have any of them taken out. And from the time that I started on the total plan until all the cancer was gone was 8 months. It just slowly went away one day at a time as I got on the total plan. It took me an additional 10 months to regain my strength. So it was 18 months from beginning to end. Now, I continued on the 13 juices as well as the regular diet and all of that for an additional many months, in fact, for a total of 3 years, because I wanted to make sure I was absolutely well. And I still do the entire plan, except I don't do 13 juices a day. I was cutting down gradually. I will forever do at least 3 or 4 carrot juices every single day, plus all my water and everything else on the plan. I will never change the way that I used to eat and live, because that's what caused my cancer in the first place. People say, well, now can't you eat everything? Well, I suppose I could if I want to get sick again. So I don't do that. Now, I want to tell you a little bit about my videos. The plan is on the videos that I use to get well. First of all, the first video I made was called Cancer Doesn't Scare Me Anymore, which I talk about a lot of alternative methods that have worked for some people in the past. And I tell you why doctors are not taught how to get patients really well. I tell you why chemotherapy and radiation destroy your immune system and do not cure cancer. And I tell you why cancer is big business and what that's all about. Then the next video I made is called You Can't Improve on God. That is the exact step-by-step plan I use to get well. Then the third video is called Diseases Don't Just Happen, where I go into all diseases, including cancer, high blood pressure, cardiovascular disease, chronic fatigue syndrome, fibromyalgia, neurological diseases, autoimmune diseases, osteoporosis, postmenopausal syndromes, flu, colds, everything. And tell you what causes it and how you get well without drugs. And the fourth video is called Turn on the Light, Overcoming Anxiety and Depression Without Drugs. These are the 4, and actually they are all available across the way. And for you who want to get them at a later time, if you want to refer to them, if you have cancer, you need to have your own set. Not because I want to make money, but you can't get it if you just watch it once. You borrow it from a neighbor and watch it once. This is such a change in thinking, just like the whole idea that flies don't cause garbage. See, the medical profession doesn't even understand that yet. You have to watch the videos over and over and over again until you get it. People will write to me at times and they'll say, I have your videos, I have watched them, the information is wonderful, but you didn't tell us how you got well. It's all there. Because you see, they think, I've got a disease, what do I take? That's the wrong question. I've got a disease, how do I change my life? That's the answer. This is not a diet, it is a way of life. Diet is critical for recovery, but it is only 10% of the plan. That's why there are a lot of people who are on just diet plans who don't get well from serious diseases. But you can't get well if you're not on the right kind of diet, but it is only 10% of the plan. The phone number that I can give you where you can get information on the videos is 1-800-574-2437. That's 1-800-574-2437. And the website address, I have a website on the internet, that is www.drday.com. That's drday.com, all small letters, drday.com. I have a lot of information on the website which will be helpful. The videos will answer 95 to 98% of your questions. The other 2% are answered on the information that is on my website. Everything you need to know to get well is there. Now, does the medical profession really know what causes cancer and they're just not telling you? Yes, well, they do know, except they don't recognize that they know. The Harvard School of Public Health has said publicly that 65% of all cancer could be prevented by a change in diet and lifestyle. Well, I say it's 99%, but let's go with the 65%. If 65% of cancer can be prevented by a change in diet and lifestyle, then what is it that causes cancer? The wrong diet and lifestyle, right? But they say, well, if you prevent cancer, that's fine by this method. But you certainly can't cure cancer once you have it. Well, if every doctor stops to think about that, they'll know that's ludicrous, and I'll tell you why. I realized that we were in real trouble in medicine when I was a second-year medical student rotating through the pathology rotation. I was in there looking at the microscopic slides of these various tumors and all under the scope, and the doctors, pathologists were teaching me. And so you were with them all the time. And in each group that would go through each department at that stage in our training, there were only like 6 students, and there might be even 12 professors. So you got a lot of individual attention. We were with them all the time. So one day I was looking at some slides under the microscope, and I heard these pathologists just a few feet away from me discussing a particular specimen that they couldn't figure out whether it was malignant or benign, because you see there is a long period of time that the transition is occurring. Cancer doesn't happen instantaneously. The cancer that you have in your body or may be forming has been forming for probably at least 10 years. It doesn't just fall out of the sky and grab you. We give it to ourselves one day at a time by the way we eat and the way we live. So here I was in the pathology department, and they were discussing whether this was benign or malignant. And some felt that it was benign, and some felt that it was malignant. And they kind of went back and forth, and it was a very pleasant discussion. Nobody was angry with one another. That's one reason they send your specimens out to so many other pathologists to get their view on it. But I was shocked when finally they made the final decision by flipping a coin. Now, as I said yesterday, do you want to trust your life to the flip of a coin? See, science in medicine is not an exact science. We call it an art. You want to base your decisions on what you do for your health on the creator of life, not on humankind. But you see, the Harvard School of Public Health does say that you can prevent cancer by a change in diet and lifestyle. In fact, all cells need really is to be fed properly and to be able to eliminate their wastes. It's very difficult to keep your body from healing. We have to get in the way a lot. If you get a cut, your cut will normally heal unless you do something bad to keep it from healing, right? If we just stay out of the way and don't put harmful substances into our bodies naturally will heal. We just need to stop damaging them. How do we do that? In the early 1900s, the average American ate 300 pounds of grains a year and 200 pounds of potatoes. By 1985, the amount of grains that Americans were eating dropped by 50%. The amount of potatoes dropped by 50%. The amount of milk people were drinking doubled. The amount of beef people were eating went up by 50%. And the amount of chicken people were eating went up by almost 300%. It is estimated that the average American during their lifetime will eat the following: 15 cows, 24 hogs, 12 sheep, 900 chickens, and 1,000 pounds of assorted other animals that swim, fly, or walk. That's an enormous amount of flesh food going through one human body. No wonder everybody's sick. There are more than 1,000 drug products that are allowed to be used on the animals that people are eating. They have growth hormone and antibiotics of all kinds. And of course, there are pesticides put on the grains that the animals eat. And you are eating all of that. The meat inspectors tell us that all hamburger in this country is made from what they term 4D meat. That's meat from animals that are dead, dying, diseased, or disabled. I mean, this is not a joke, it's true. That's what 4D means. And we are told that the hamburger in this country is mixed with a hamburger from 7 other countries, which has no meat inspection. Now you say, well, I don't eat meat, I eat chicken. Well, according to the meat inspectors, that's a lot worse. And I'm sure Danny Vieira or someone else has told you that chickens pass the chicken inspector at about 100 birds a minute. They're gutted by a machine that takes out their intestines and soils them with feces. And so then at the end of the conveyor line, they have to be washed off because they're covered with feces, their own and everybody else's in the chicken line. So they drop them into this big tank that's called fecal soup. That's what the guys there at work there call it, fecal soup. And the government allows these chickens to stay in that fecal soup long enough to soak up 10% of their body weight, so they'll weigh more when you buy them at the grocery store. If the government didn't allow them to do that, Tyson Foods, the biggest producers of chickens, would lose something like $40 million a year. That's why they tell you when you clean up your kitchen after you've had meat or poultry in there, what you want to do is sterilize it. Well, why do you sterilize your kitchen if you're going to eat the stuff? How do you want your feces, cooked or raw? Do you see why everybody's sick? You say, well, fish, I eat fish. Well, here's the statistics on fish. There's no mandatory inspection. As of 1998, there was no mandatory inspection of fish in this country. There's 10% voluntary inspection. And mildly polluted waters produces super polluted fish because poison becomes progressively more concentrated as they move up the food chain. The little fish eat the algae and the bigger fish eat the little fish, and so it becomes increasingly more concentrated so that the fish that you eat can be as much as 1,000,000 times more polluted than the waters they came from. The major ongoing PCB exposure for the general population is the consumption of fish. Toxins in the fatty tissue of fish include mercury, dioxin, pesticides, chlorinated hydrocarbons, lead, PCBs, heavy metal, and petroleum hydrocarbons. You don't have any of that trouble when you eat vegetables. The average American family of 4 will spend on produce in a week's period of time $1.74. $1.74 for a family of 4. Now milk, we're told by the Milk and Dairy Council, everybody needs milk. Well, they had to stop saying that because they had to agree that everybody doesn't need milk, and in fact, milk is bad for most everybody. But now they say milk has something for everybody. Yes, it does. I have seen videos of milk being filtered after they've taken it out of the cow. See, the cows are put on growth hormone to make them produce more and more milk, and then they are sick because they're producing so much milk. So then they have diarrhea, and then they give them antibiotics, and the poor animals are covered with diarrhea, and they put the milking machines on them, and then they have to filter the milk because the milk is so contaminated. I have seen videotapes showing that the filter is covered on the outside with pure feces. You say, well, they pasteurize the milk. Again, do you like it cooked? What? You see why people are so sick. Here's what milk has for virtually everybody. Allergies, it's one of the main sources of allergies. Milk and dairy products and dehydration are probably the main sources of allergies in America. Allergies, cholesterol, increased cholesterol. Milk is one of the major causes of osteoporosis. Don't I hear any gasps out there? Milk causes osteoporosis because milk is an animal protein. Osteoporosis is not caused by a deficiency of calcium. You can take all the calcium you want. You're going to get calcium formations in your joints and every place else from the excess calcium. What happens is this. When you eat animal protein, whether it's milk, dairy products, yogurt, cheese, meat, fish, poultry, that produces acid in your body. The body has to take calcium out of the bones to neutralize the acid, and then the calcium is taken out of your body through the urine. So the more milk you drink, the more osteoporotic you can become. Adults do not need milk. Children don't need milk past the time they're weaned. Milk causes osteoporosis. Milk is one of the major causes of juvenile onset diabetes. The kind of diabetes that a child will have for the rest of their life. The kind of diabetes that is the #1 cause of blindness in America and the #2 cause of amputation of the feet and legs. And I have amputated the legs of lots of diabetic patients. I'm telling you, this is a deadly food, milk. Here's how it happens. The milk has a special protein in it, which is an animal protein. The body identifies it as a foreign protein because it's not you, and it's not what you're meant to eat. So the child's body makes antibodies against that foreign protein, and that protein is almost identical to a protein that's in the pancreas, in the cells that produce insulin. So the antibodies made against the milk then attack the child's pancreas and destroy the cells that produce insulin. And the child becomes a lifelong diabetic dependent on insulin. Milk increases the incidence of cataracts. It increases the incidence of breast cancer, the incidence of leukemia, multiple sclerosis, Lou Gehrig's disease, Crohn's disease, ulcerative colitis, female infertility, and learning difficulties. In fact, over 50% of Americans have lactose intolerance, and especially black Americans, and they're giving all these children in school milk. And a lot of these children are having learning difficulties because they are forced to drink milk. Tyramine, which is in cheese, actually inhibits the frontal lobe, which is your judgment and learning center. It blocks certain neurotransmitters so you can't transmit your nerve impulses properly. And arachidonic acid, which is in meat, in animal products, blocks the synthesis of a particular neurotransmitter called acetylcholine, which you need for your body to have a normally functioning immune system. And junk food. Everybody's eating junk food. They're eating at fast food restaurants. The incidence of fast food restaurants has risen almost the same as the number of grocery produce stores has dropped. Now you say, Well, I should go on vitamins and mineral pills. Well, Dr. Richard Schultz's representatives are here, and he's a nationally known herbologist. I'm quoting from his work. He said that he thought at the beginning that the vitamin and mineral pills were coming from somebody grinding up fresh veggies. But when he investigated it, he found out that was not true. If you look on your bottle, it'll tell you there's no soy and no wheat and no sugar and no this, but it never tells you where the exact vitamins and minerals actually came from. Where did they come from originally? So he investigated this, and here's what he says. Commercial grade vitamin and mineral concentrates are synthesized by the big pharmaceutical and chemical industries from the same starting material that drugs are made from. Coal tar, petroleum products, animal byproducts, animal waste, animal fecal matter, animal bones, ground up rocks, stones, shells, and metal. They are then wholesaled out to the various nutrient manufacturers, and the manufacturers of the vitamin pills are just mixing middlemen. U.S. Pharmacopoeia, which is the governing body for this, says that if it looks the same under a microscope, they don't care where it came from. And you will also realize that all vitamin B12, he says, all vitamin B12 on the market is made from either ground up toxic cow livers or activated sewage sludge. So the food you want to eat is fruits, grains, and vegetables in their most natural form. The more raw you can eat, the better. I eat 75 to 90% of my food raw. I will cook my potatoes sometimes. I will cook my rice, although I usually sprout my grains. Because then you don't lose the enzymes, you actually augment the enzymes of vitamins and minerals. So you want fruits, grains, and vegetables, and if you don't have cancer or some other serious disease, you can have some nuts and seeds. But those are too high in protein and too difficult to digest for cancer patients or other patients with severe diseases. The juices are taken in between meals. I drank the juice, 13 fresh vegetable and fruit juices, 1 fruit juice, 1 orange juice a day, freshly made. Talking about these are freshly made at home, nothing in a can, nothing in a bottle, all at home in your juicer. I drank 13 juices a day in between meals, 3 meals a day, and the juices in between, because you see, a cancer patient is suffering from malnutrition. You may be very overweight, but you're still suffering from malnutrition because you haven't eaten the right kind of food and gotten enough vitamins, minerals, and enzymes. So the best way to get huge amounts of vitamins, minerals, and enzymes into your body in its most nearly natural form is by drinking fresh vegetable juices. I drank 13 juices a day, 8 carrot and apple juice, 4 green leafy vegetable and apple juice, and 1 orange juice. My shopping list, as I've told you before, my shopping list for 1 week's juices, now I ate 3 meals a day as well, but 1 week's juices was the following: 35 pounds of carrots, 84 apples, 21 heads of romaine, 7 heads of red cabbage, 5 bunches of red chard, 7 green peppers, and 5 bunches of endive. That's just for juice for a week. 84 apples, 1 in every juice. Okay. Organic for your juices for sure. If you can't get organic for the rest of your food, you get as much as organic as you can. And God will bless the rest, but God knows whether you're cheating on him. Okay. So that is what I drank because I was trying to get huge amounts of nutrition into my body, and that's the way you do it rather than with just vitamin pills. You do it in the way God, and I'm not against vitamin pills per se, they're certainly a lot better than drugs, but we can't improve on God. We can't do it. Now you'll say, well, juices aren't totally natural. Well, that's right, but you can't eat 35 pounds of carrots a week. Your digestive tract would be digesting all the time, and that's not good for you. But when you drink the juice in between meals, it doesn't really take digestion. It goes directly into your bloodstream. So that's why you drink the juice. So you make your juice in a juicer and not in a blender. Now the next thing is exercise. Now, if you are sick, you don't want to overdo with your exercise. Walking is always good and always safe, and don't walk so long that you're fatigued. You should never fatigue yourself. Exercise increases circulation, it increases oxygen to the body, improves intestinal peristalsis. It increases body muscle so it can burn fat. It increases the body's ability to withstand stress. It helps eliminate toxins. It lowers the cholesterol. It decreases your weight. It lowers your blood pressure. It decreases resting heart rate. It helps prevent osteoporosis, and it relieves depression. And it's free. Why wouldn't we do it? And if you do it out in the sunshine and the fresh air, you're getting 3 for 1, because those are 3 of the 10 steps in the plan: exercise, fresh air, and sunshine. Now, water. Water is the second most important nutrient in the body, second to oxygen. Water, your body loses 10 glasses of water every day just by living. You lose it from perspiration even when it's not hot. You lose it because your breath is moist, you fog up a mirror, and you lose it because your body has to take huge amounts of water, put it into your stomach from your cells, puts it into your stomach to make digestive juices for every meal. You lose all that through your colon and through your kidneys. You lose it all. So for every day you don't drink 10 glasses of water, you're getting farther behind. When cells become dehydrated, they break down and they become sick, and they can become cancerous, or they can develop other diseases. Dehydration is one of the biggest causes of disease. Now, water drinking will help decrease your blood pressure. It decreases anxiety. It decreases allergies and asthma. It improves the body's ability to handle stress enormously. In fact, when I first understood about water and I started drinking huge amounts of water, my anxiety and depression started going away slowly. It was amazing. And as I said before, ulcers are cured by water drinking. A book that we have at Rockford Press, available at the same 800 number, is called Your Body's Many Cries for Water. If you have cancer or lupus or multiple sclerosis or any other disease, or if you just don't want to get any of those diseases, read that book. Your Body's Many Cries for Water by Dr. Batman Gelage. He's an Iranian doctor trained in London. He lives in America now. He's a friend of mine, and the book is worth its weight in gold. And I talk about that on my videos, and again, it's available from Rockford Press. Now, what kind of water to drink? One thing I don't agree with Dr. Batman Gelage is he thinks tap water is fine. Tap water is full of contamination. Bacteria and viruses and chlorine and fluoride. Fluoride is a poison. Sorry, you dentists out there. I was a dental hygienist for many years. I worked my way through medical school as a dental hygienist. I put fluoride on all the kids' teeth. I had fluoride put on my kids' teeth. We use toothpaste with fluoride in it. Fluoride is a poison. It is a byproduct of aluminum production. There is a great controversy over whether it even reduces cavities at all. And it causes brittle bones. It affects the bones in the teeth in a negative way. It contributes to the development of arthritis, and it causes premature aging of the skin and other membranes. They dump it in there because it's a good place to get rid of it. Plus, it's mass medication to the public. And chlorine is a poisonous gas. Now, I drink bottled water. What I would suggest you do is, I don't have any argument if you want to do distilled or just bottled water, but if you're going to do anything, call up the company and find out how they purify it. If they at least use reverse osmosis, carbon filtration, and ozonation, because ozone kills all bacteria and viruses, if they use those 3, it's probably okay if you can trust the company. But don't drink it from the tap unless that's all you've got. Sunlight. Sunlight is extremely important. Sunlight reduces the size of internal cancerous tumors. It's in the medical literature. Doctors are telling you stay out of the sun. Sun causes skin cancer. That's not true per se. What happens is this. If you're not eating enough good, nutritious food, you lose your barrier protection from the harmful rays of the sun. Baylor University, they did a study with 2 groups of experimental animals. One group they gave the standard American diet, too much fat, too much protein, too much sugar. The other group, they gave a highly nutritious diet. Then they exposed both of them to the ultraviolet rays of the sun. In the group on the standard American diet, 25% got skin cancer. In the group on the nutritious diet, not one animal got skin cancer. Sunlight lowers blood pressure. It lowers cholesterol by turning your cholesterol into vitamin D in your skin. It enhances the immune system. It kills bacteria. It causes the nervous system to calm down. That's why you fall asleep when you go and sit out in the sun. It increases oxygen in the blood. It decreases the resting heart rate. It increases your tolerance to stress and all sorts of other things. And yet, doctors are telling patients, stay out of the sun. Can you grow a garden without sunlight? You cannot grow a healthy human being without sunlight. Just think of what a plant needs. A plant needs proper nutrition and water and sunlight and fresh air and freedom from toxins. That's what a human being needs. You don't want to give a bunch of drugs to a plant, and yet we give drugs to people all the time. We also need freedom from toxins in the body. Caffeine is one of the worst toxins. Caffeine has all sorts of problems, but mainly it's a diuretic. Caffeine in coffee and caffeinated sodas and the analog that's in chocolate and tea, those chemicals are diuretics. They take more water out of your body than comes in with the drink. Caffeine is an unnatural stimulant. It speeds up the body's reactions abnormally. It increases your heart rate. It increases secretion of acid in the stomach. It causes the nervous system to be stimulated improperly, so that's why you get insomnia. It causes coffee nerves. It increases benign breast tumors, which then causes an increase in malignant breast tumors. It increases the incidence of bladder cancer. It produces stomach ulcers in animal studies. You want your cup of coffee? Go ahead if you want to be sick. And of course, I think everybody here pretty much knows that smoking is bad for you. Smoking contains nicotine and other poisons. It produces carbon monoxide. What we need is oxygen, not carbon monoxide. It causes a decreased concentration, smoking does, and poor memory. And then, of course, there are other chemicals that they're adding to our food, including olestra or olein. You know, that's that that no-fat fat they put in. There are a number of articles appearing in the literature on that now, and you know what one of the side effects of that is? Don't eat this no-fat stuff where it tells you they've got olestra or olein in it, because one of the main side effects is anal leakage. Anal leakage. That's pretty socially unacceptable. They don't put that on their packages, say, eat our product and you will have anal leakage. I mean, do you see what we're doing to ourselves? Because the other thing is, you see, this will take the fat-soluble vitamins out of your body. We have water-soluble vitamins and we have fat-soluble vitamins in our body. And when you eat this stuff, it takes the fat-soluble vitamins right on out of your body. Now, sugar is another thing that we want to keep out of our bodies. Refined sugar. Refined sugar is poison. It robs the body of the B-complex vitamins, which you need for a properly functioning nervous system. It robs your body of vitamin C, which you need for your immune system, and zinc and chromium and calcium. And it can actually cause lots of problems with anxiety and depression. And when you eat sugar, refined sugar, it gives your body a real jolt, so your insulin shoots up, and then it drops down, and it eats up all the sugar that you've just eaten plus more, and you become hypoglycemic. And then the symptoms of hypoglycemia, or low blood sugar, are easy crying, inability to tolerate stress, fatigue, exhaustion, irritability, moodiness, nervousness, short temper, suicidal thoughts, disorientation, poor memory, poor judgment, worrying. And then you go to the doctor and you say, oh, I'm suffering from depression. The doctor says, well, we'll give you some Prozac. What you need is to clean up your diet and drink your water and do it God's way. Well, for those of you who are ice cream lovers, the strawberry flavor in ice cream is from benzyl acetate that causes nausea and diarrhea. The pineapple flavor is ethyl acetate. It causes liver, kidney, and heart damage, and it's used as a cleaner for leather and textiles. The vanilla flavor, pepperonol, is a chemical used to kill lice. And the banana flavor is used as an oil and paint solvent. Sugar, and that includes honey. Now, honey does have some nutrition in it, but it's concentrated sugar, and it will do the same thing to your insulin level. Sugar and honey will paralyze the immune system. Your immune system cannot work for 5 hours after you eat a load of sugar. It paralyzes your immune cells, so you have no resistance against disease. There's no nutrition in sugar. It's empty calories. Robs the body of vitamin C, B complex, zinc, and chromium. Causes hypoglycemia, destroys the nervous system, and it depletes enzymes and increases the level of fat in the bloodstream. But you say, I don't use sugar, I use NutraSweet. Well, I don't think I have to tell you how much you don't want to use NutraSweet and MSG and the other excitotoxins. You don't want to do that. And of course, medications are a terrible problem. Sleeping medications such as Dalmane and Halcione cause delirium, depression, agitation. Ulcer medications such as Tagamet cause disorientation, delirium, and hallucinations. Is this what you want to do to your body? Prednisone or cortisone causes peptic ulcers, acne, diabetes, hypertension. It destroys the liver and the kidneys, causes damage to the blood and bones. Now, if you go to the doctor and he says, well, I'll give you Prozac because you are suffering from anxiety and depression, here are some of the admitted side effects of Prozac as given by the pharmaceutical company. Now, you're taking it because you're depressed or anxious. The number one side effect is anxiety. Anxiety, nervousness, tremor, dizziness, nausea, anorexia, sweating, insomnia, loss of strength, hemorrhage, high blood pressure, congestive heart failure, heart attack, stroke, cardiac arrest, death, bloody diarrhea, amnesia, hallucinations, paranoid reaction, delusions, and coma. That's from Prozac. There are many drugs that commonly affect the mind, including asthma, blood pressure medications, ulcer pills, tranquilizers, pain relievers, narcotics, cold and allergy medications. It's been found that women who use anti-anxiety and antidepressant drugs to control stress have nearly 17 times greater risk of a heart attack. 17 times greater risk of a heart attack. That's published in Lancet, Major Medical Journal, October 31, 1992. Women who use hormone replacement therapy, this was in the October 11, 1997 issue of the journal Lancet. Women who use hormone replacement therapy for 5 years or more have an increased risk of breast cancer, 35% increased risk of breast cancer. Tamoxifen, which they're putting people on prophylactically to prevent cancer, I have here the side effects as published in the physician's desk reference, published by the pharmaceutical companies. Tamoxifen causes uterine cancer and liver cancer. It's given to prevent breast cancer. Liver cancer is even worse. I would like to give you the definition of a drug as said to me by a true follower of the word. He says, permit me to give my practical definition of a drug. A drug is anything you use to remove the effects of transgression without requiring obedience. I'll say that again. A drug is anything you use to remove the effects of transgression without requiring obedience. Well, people say, well, should I have my cancer cut out? Well, as I said yesterday, cutting out the cancer does not remove the factors that allowed cancer to develop in the first place. You would never take a child with a chicken pox to a doctor and say, cut out all the pox marks in their skin so they'll be free of chicken pox. You don't do that because the pox marks are the skin manifestations of a systemic disease, a disease that affects the whole body. Well, when you have a cancerous tumor, that's just the local manifestation, like the pox marks, of a systemic disease. The cancer is affecting your whole body. It just comes out in one place. Taking it out does not do anything for your systemic condition. You say, well, it's inherited. It's a lot in my family. Doesn't matter if there's a lot of cancer in your family. Almost no diseases are inherited. Yes, about 1% are probably inherited. If your great-grandmother had breast cancer and your grandmother had breast cancer and your mother had breast cancer, that does not mean that you will get breast cancer. You will if you continue to eat and live and handle stress like they do. This is the way we pass it down from one generation to another, not in the genes. Grandmother teaches mother how to eat and handle stress, and mother teaches daughter. It's the same way with heart disease. You can stop it in your generation. You don't have to do it. Doctors will tell you, well, all of these things are congenital. I'm not kidding you. I saw on the cover of Life magazine a couple of years ago, there was a big article that said adultery is genetic. I'm serious. What they're trying to do is remove from you any responsibility for what's happening in your life and make you think that you can't do anything about it. You've got to go to them and take their drugs and pay them the money, and they're going to take care of it all. God allows us to get ourselves in these terrible situations to do two things: to get us to learn to trust Him completely and to change our diets and our lifestyles completely. So you don't have to just cut out the cancer, and you don't have to remove the lymph nodes. Now, I'm not telling you to do it or not to do it. You have to make that decision. But your lymph nodes are part of your system that will keep you from having the cancer spread all over your body. If you have an infection in your foot, are you going to go to the surgeon and have the nodes in your groin cut out because they're swollen up? No, they're doing their job. They're keeping the infection that's coming from your foot from spreading to the rest of your body. Well, that's what the nodes are doing too. When you have cancer, if you've got cancer in your lymph nodes, it's keeping that cancer from spreading everywhere else. But we human beings go to the doctor and you have your lymph nodes taken out, and then they give you chemo and radiation that destroys the rest of your immune system. You have now removed all barriers that have been stopping the spread of the disease, and now this disease spreads everywhere. Do you see? So I'm not saying that you should be cut on or not. That's a decision that you have to make. But I'm telling you that unless you address the underlying causes of the disease, you haven't solved the problem. Now, vaccines are also a problem. You inject those, you're injecting toxins into your body. I won't have much time to discuss that, but I can tell you they are neither safe nor effective. And if you have your pencils, I'm going to give you a phone number where you can call, and I suggest everybody, particularly parents of children or anybody who's even anticipating a flu shot, get this book. I don't publish it, I don't even sell it, but I want you to get it because it's worth its weight. It's called Vaccines, Are They Really Safe and Effective? By Neil Miller, Neil Miller. The number to call is 505-983-1856. 505-983-1856. Oxygen is extremely important for your body, as is sleep. We're told that the healing hormones are produced in the body between 10 p.m. and 2 o'clock in the morning. You can only have them generated in your body if you are sleeping. So if you're going to bed at 12 or 1 o'clock in the morning, you're not getting those healing hormones produced, and you will eventually get sick. Stress is a major cause of disease. The best way to handle stress is go to the Lord in Bible study and prayer. That's the only way to do it. That's the only true source. I tried meditation and visualization at the beginning. That's not of the same Lord that the Bible study and prayer is a part of. I found that out from some pretty horrible experiences. When you are in meditation, Eastern meditation, you are in alpha waves, which are hypnotic waves. You are escaping from your stress. When you are in Bible study and prayer, You are in beta waves, which are the learning waves, and you are learning to handle your stress through the power of the Lord. Now, one thing that's very important also is that you eliminate your waste properly. Ladies, if you didn't have a garbage disposal in your kitchen and the garbage pickup didn't come and all of the garbage started building up in your kitchen, what would happen? You would have a pretty dirty kitchen filled with all sorts of vermin. If you don't eliminate the waste from your body, you will reabsorb those toxins and it will make you sick. So you must be having good bowel habits. If you're not having 2 bowel movements a day, you are on the road to trouble. A child, a baby, has a bowel movement after every time they eat. Every mother knows that. But we, as we get older, we don't eat right, we don't drink enough water, we don't eat enough fiber, and we constantly are ignoring the call of nature, and so then we have a big problem. There are 2,600 people every day who die from cardiovascular disease. That's the equivalent of more than 10 jumbo jet crashes every day. And nobody gets very excited about it. But you see, what we've got to do is we've got to change the way we think about disease. We've got to start thinking about the things that are going on in the newspapers that are actually telling the truth and be able to sort them out. Here's one that says, more evidence that fruit and veggies fight cancer. Here's in the Wall Street Journal, study points to another link between red meat and prostate cancer. This is the kind of information that you must understand is true, but the only way you can do that is to start really studying and researching on your own. I'm going to read you a list of the reasons for failure. A list of the reasons for failure, and here they are. From numerous letters I've gotten from people, they say, I've been trying your plan, been doing it for 4 months, I'm not getting any better. When I send them a little questionnaire, I find out that they're not really doing the plan. They're playing around at it. If you have cancer or some other serious disease, folks, this is serious, serious, serious business. And you've got to do it with 100% determination like Marine training. If you don't, you're going to die. That's it. It's got to be a lifestyle change, and you've got to devote the next 2 years of your life to getting well. And that's got to be the number one focus in your life. You cannot play around in it. The main reason that people don't get well on this plan is they just don't do it. Because if they do it, God promises success. The second is they have a lack of conviction that the plan works. And we talked about that yesterday, how you build faith. And you've got to read and study and research. Read the books that I talk about at the end of my 2 videos. You can't improve on God, and diseases don't just happen. Another thing, if you have severe cancer, you cannot continue working at your job. You cannot do the plan and continue working. You say, well, what am I going to do to make a living? Well, who's going to support your family when you're dead? You've got to think about that. The Lord will provide a way if you make the commitment and ask Him to help you. If you travel and take vacations and you're flying all over the place, you cannot stay on this plan. Family pressures, they want you to do this and you do that. You've got to make up your own decision and stand by it firmly. If you let your spouse make all your decisions for you, if you're perfectly capable of making them yourselves, that shows a lack of independence on your part. You discuss it with your spouse, but it's your life. You've got to make the decisions. You cannot continue watching entertainment television, reading the bad news in the newspaper, and listening to these other things on the radio about all the bad news and get well. You've got to block that all out. That time is to be spent with the Lord in Bible study and prayer. There are others that say, well, I'll try it for a while and see if it works. That's not the attitude. That's never going to get you well. If you're totally absorbed with yourself and you're not reaching out to others, at least by praying for them, you're not going to get well. And if you are unable to take responsibility for your own health and you don't admit that you gave yourself the disease, you're never going to get to first base in getting well. If you want to trust the experts and have somebody tell you what to do and you don't have to do anything yourself as far as studying or researching, you're going to fail because there are no quick fixes. But the most important thing is that you spend time with the Lord every morning in Bible study and prayer. God will help you, but He wants you to make the commitment. You have to agree with Him to spend time with Him. That's what He wants to do. The Spirit, the Holy Spirit, will lead you into all truth. You also have to approach it with a clean heart. The Bible says, if I have iniquity or sin in my heart, the Lord will not hear me. If I have sin in my heart, the Lord will not hear me. I want to tell you, for any of you who have cancer here, and I'm not exaggerating and I'm not joking, cancer is the best thing that ever happened to me. It changed my life. It got my priorities straight. It led me to the Lord. It led me to a personal relationship with Him. Do not be afraid of cancer. Cancer is nothing more than a deficiency disease. A deficiency of proper nutrients, a deficiency of water, dehydration, added to by stress, which increases the two that I just talked about, dehydration and malnutrition. Cancer is a wonderful opportunity to get your life straightened out, to get to know Jesus, and He wants you to be well. And remember, in your very darkest hour, to all who are reaching out to feel the guiding hand of God, the moment of greatest discouragement is the time when divine help is nearest. God bless you.
My name is Chap Don and my husband's name is Queen Don. 5 months ago, my husband got colon cancer, and we praise with God a lot. I kneel down and cry and pray with God, and finally we got the video from your Dr. Day, and we follow her plan. And my husband get really well, and I lost 20 pounds, and my cholesterol from 216 down to 150.
Wonderful.
And my blood sugar from 120 go down to 87. My son lost almost 10 pounds. My husband he got high blood pressure before. Now he no more pill, but he get the blood pressure from 127 to 130 over 78 to 85. And his cholesterol from 250 to 200.
And this is your husband right
Yeah,
here.
that's my husband right here.
Doing very well.
Yes.
Well, praise the Lord.
Yes, we praise the Lord.
Absolutely wonderful.
Yes.
And how do you feel?
I feel good. I feel good. The Lord really take care of us, and they bring your tape to us, so we know you and we follow your plan. You know, yeah, I like that. This event got to be more national, more developed and more growing. So everybody will get the information, and we reach out to more people. You know,
That's right.
yeah, to get them information to help people.
And now you can have a whole healthy family. A whole family right here.
Every day I drive far from my house to the health food store to get all the organic food, organic carrots, 36, almost 50 pounds carrots a week.
Good. Good for you. That's just wonderful.
I'm really happy with that. I'm really thank you. God bless you.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Thank you so much.
God bless you.
When did you find out you had cancer, and what kind do you have?
Leukemia. I found out about last November.
And what have you done about it?
Well, the first thing I did is I remembered you from back from college days, and so I called you up or sent you a memo, and you called me back, and I appreciated that.
That's right. We've known each other for 40 years, right?
Yeah.
That's right. And you found out I had cancer, and so you called me, and so have you changed your lifestyle at all?
Absolutely, radically. No coffee, no meat, no candy, and on your juice diet every day. I follow that pattern right now. My wife has been helping me, of course.
And so are you doing the rest of the plan too? Spending time with the Lord?
Yes.
Drinking your water?
Drinking my water
Drinking
all
your
night
water,
long and
getting
getting up. But a funny thing about it, in the morning, I'm not sleepy. I thought that I would be sleepy because I get up during the night and drink the water.
Yeah. You get up to go to the bathroom, you drink
Get up,
more
go
water.
to the bathroom, go to the water all through the night. Then in the morning, I'm amazed. I'm rested.
And so how are you feeling these days?
I'm feeling great. I'm doing some substitute teaching and playing basketball with the kids, and 40-minute periods I could never do before.
It's great. Absolutely
Yeah.
right. It's good to see you.
Good to see you, Lorraine.
order these from your website then too?
Okay, this one's to me.
Said to your health. And
Okay, all right.
I hope.
I'll bail you out.
Well, we thought we were going to have to order one through your website and make some special request. And then we heard you were up here and we go, oh, yes. Yeah, now if you care to sign these are for mine. This isn't for being bailed out. This is just...
Name on it?
Sure, Madeline,
M-A-D-E-L-I-N-E?
E-L-Y-N.